Hey, what's up, guys? Those of you who've been tagging along and following me for quite some time, I survived the hurricane. We didn't get it too bad. Well, we did get it pretty bad here. There were a bunch of trees blown down in my neighborhood and all through town. We were out of power for 3 days. And yeah, but anyway, stuff's pretty much back to normal here. I can't say so much for Asheville. Man, I guess you guys have seen by now, but boy, they got it bad. Anyway, I got some new goodies. I forgot to mention something about that last time we were looking at it. One of the other reasons I went with the Heltec wireless stick light version 3 was because it had a connector for an external antenna for Wi-Fi, which I'm assuming it is also Bluetooth. So I went ahead and stuck a Wi-Fi antenna on it. I was hoping, the one thing I really like about the WizBlocks 40, whatever they are, is I can sit at my desk and get a signal from it up on the house there, and I can just use one node. So I was hoping I could do something similar with this, and I just put it on yesterday. I haven't done much range testing with it. Out in the open, I get about 100 feet out of it, I guess. But moving on, this came in the mail today. And what I'm going to do with that is take the omnidirectional antenna off the Station G2 and stick that one on it. And that's an antenna turner that all that mess is mounted to, that boxy looking thing at the bottom. So I can turn the mast, it's fixed to it 180 degrees. So we're gonna have some fun playing around with the Yagi. Okay, here is the size of it. My omnidirectional antenna has a female in connector here, and this one came with a male in, and I don't have the proper pigtail to go between here and my Station G2, but I've got it ordered and Amazon says it should be here tomorrow. Had to, you can see how I did this while we're in here. I just designed these clamp brackets and printed them, and I've got silicone between this bracket and this Tupperware container, and then another little dollop under. There's actually a washer behind that bolt head, so that's been working really well to keep the moisture out. And when I go put this thing back together, I'm going to show you what I've been using to keep the water out of the USB connection port, and I've got an idea I think you'll like along those same lines. So we'll pick this back up when I get my pigtail. So we're about ready to go up there and mount it. I wanted to touch on what I do for waterproofing. For electrical connections, what I'll use is like a silicone grease, dielectric grease, or it's also called diver's grease. Diver's grease is silicone grease, but I think it's a little bit heavier. And this is just silicone caulk right here, just to make sure. Yeah, if you're using like, a Tupperware container, you need to be real cautious about ingress if your antenna is mounted on top of it. I had an issue with this one, and there was like that much water in it one time. The batteries were actually underwater, but no, everything came back. But yeah, it was because of that antenna mount where I've got it going right through there. Anyway, I'll also use silicone grease around these seals. You see I've got it ready to go on that. And down here at the bottom where the USB's coming in, what I was using was this weather stripping for it's like a specialty weather stripping for RV windows, and it's like a piece of foam impregnated with, it's like a foam strip impregnated with a real gooey rubber, and it worked great. I just cut a couple of pieces of that and then stick it and squeeze it around it, and it kept all the water out. And in doing that, I figured, well, you know, this stuff's kind of hard to get a hold of. I wonder what's similar. And I remembered that, you know, the plastic or rubber, whatever it is the same stuff that's in tire plugs. So I'm going to try the same thing with the tire plug. Once I get up there, I cut it in a couple of pieces and then just smush it around the USB connector, and I'll let you know if that is working for me. But I'm not going to take my phone up there on the roof. I'm terrified of heights anyway, and I just don't want to be filming up there. Well, she's up there. The tire plug worked okay. It wasn't nearly as good as that foam stuff because it's not as flexible, and you can't really pinch it around the connector, the USB connector, as good as you can the foam stuff. It did work though. If I wasn't holding the whole assembly in one hand and trying to apply it up there, I could have taken my time and cut it in a few more pieces and stacked it around it, and it would have been a little bit easier. Anyway, it's sealed up and on there. I've had it up for about 3-4 days now, and I was trying to get in communication with a buddy of mine who lives a couple of miles away, and he's just got a Heltec V3. I think he's just got the factory antenna, and so I've been trying to reach out to him, and you know, nothing that we did over the weekend worked. It's just not working just from this one end, and I think there might be something between us, like some kind of a hill. So I've been pointing it in various directions, you know, trying to gauge the, you know, what the pattern of radiation, I'm not sure exactly what you call that, what that kind of, trying to get an idea what that looks like. It's really hard to tell with that. It looks like it's pretty broad on one side of it, like picture like a sphere coming out from the front of it. That's the idea I get of what kind of coverage it's giving me. Which isn't bad, not bad for a $20 antenna. I think it was advertised as like 7 dBi. Now, it seems like my 10 dBi gets about the same distance, but all the way around. Maybe not. I did have it pointed to my rec complex where I go and ruck around over the weekend, and it picked up everything from that little jaunt. Now, I didn't really go anywhere that I haven't been able to pick up with my Omni, so that wasn't a very good test, but it did pick up like everything, maybe a little more than the Omni would have. But I pointed it down south, and it still looks like nobody down south has anything to do with Meshtastic until you get to maybe Augusta, I guess. The thing about Meshtastic and a Yagi, if you don't have a specific purpose for it, it's going to be kind of hard to tell what it's picking up, because with the ability of all these nodes out there to mesh, it picked up a few new ones, and I don't know if those were just brand new people coming online, or if it was actually picking them up because of the directional characteristics of it. But if you think about it, the ones that had their GPS turned on, they were all over, well, up north. But then some of them were in places that you would kind of scratch your head at and be like, well, I wasn't pointing anywhere near that. I was like 100 degrees away from that when I captured that node. But you really can't tell because of the meshing characteristics. It might have picked that one up from something that you were pointed at that maybe didn't even have their GPS turned on. So it's terribly confusing. I think that the best purpose for Yagis are point-to-point communications, connecting people up at farther distances. Yeah, I'm gonna play around with it a couple more weeks, but probably gonna put the Station G2 back on the big omnidirectional antenna. I did have another little amplifier come in, and I got a little project planned for that. What I'm planning on doing is making just like an attachment. It'll have its own battery, and you basically screw it on to whatever node you have, and it'll give you like a little boost. So I think that's what the next video is going to be about, but that's going to be about it for this one. I'll see y'all later.